When it comes to rotation in the putting stroke, my preference would be to see some rotation opening in the backstroke, some closing in the downstroke, getting to impact somewhere close to square, and then some natural rotation closing again in the follow through. The amount that the putter rotates in the stroke can vary from golfer to golfer, and the longer our stroke, the more rotation we will see. When we're using our HackMotion to measure rotation, we're not directly measuring how much the putter face is rotating open and closed, but what we are measuring is forearm rotation in space. So we would expect to see some rotation in the backstroke, some rotation in the downstroke, and again some rotation in the follow through, okay? Opening and closing. If we're not seeing that, then there's a possibility that we're steering. In this video I'm going to explain what steering is. I'm going to relate it specifically to breaking putts and share with you some ideas as to why you might be steering your putts, particularly on breaking putts. So first of all, how would I define steering? So earlier I described to you that I want to see some natural rotation within our stroke, but that should be smooth. There should be no sudden changes in rotation, and there should be no manipulation of rotation. So for me, steering is manipulation of rotation about the shaft, about the Z-axis, in and around impact. Okay, so that can be a manipulation open and a manipulation closed. And I've got the HackMotion on my trail wrist because that's where I'd most commonly see this manipulation come from. If we're manipulating it open, then we're supinating the forearm and twisting the putter open. If we're manipulating it closed, I will see a pronation of the forearm and a closing of the face. So again, for me, steering is a manipulation of the putter face in and around impact about the shaft or about the Z-axis. So I'm going to hit a few putts. I've got the platform set right to left, and I'm going to first of all demonstrate what I would kind of like to see. Again, the amount that the putter can rotate open and close, and therefore the forearm will open and close in space, will vary from golfer to golfer. But just as a natural example of what I might want to see, that was me allowing the putter to naturally rotate. Let's do one where I manipulate the face open. So that for me would be manipulating the face open through impact, and you can see on the graph that there is no closing through impact. And then this will be manipulating it closed. And you'll see on the graph excess rotation at the moment of impact. So those for me are a couple of examples of steering and manipulating the rotation close to impact. Probably the most common reason I would see golfers steering their breaking putts is because of a misunderstanding of where they actually need to start the ball in order to produce the path that they're seeing the ball take. You'll see I've got a ghost hole here placed at 2/3 of the way to the hole. Aim point would call this point drop point. You can use, for this drill, you can use a marker. As long as the ball is going to run over that point smoothly, you can use whatever you prefer. But in this case I'm using a ghost hole. I've put it 2/3 of the way there. And the reason I've done that is when the slope is the same across the whole putt, okay, so the slope is the same here, here and here. I'm on a planar surface. It doesn't matter the amount of slope, and it doesn't matter the orientation to the slope, so I could be putting downhill right to left, uphill left to right. There's a constant relationship between that point and my start line. And that is that it is directly in between a straight line to the hole and my start line. Okay, so you can see the laser there going straight to the hole, and the gap between the laser and the ghost hole is exactly the same as the start line. So that is where I'd need to start the ball if I would want the ball at the right speed to travel through the middle of the ghost hole and into the middle of the hole. So perhaps you're beginning to understand why golfers would steer. A lot of golfers would actually aim pretty close to that ghost hole or not high enough, and therefore on a right to left putt, if you're aiming too low, which is most common, you'd have to potentially try and steer the ball up the slope. Conversely, on the left to right, you might have to increase rotation through impact and therefore get the ball starting more up the slope. It has to be said that steering is not the only way to manipulate the face, to open it more or close it more, but it's pretty common. So you can measure on your HackMotion, hit a putt as you normally would with the ghost hole there, and then you might not have a laser to hand, but you can perhaps put a point in here or use a chalk line or something similar, and understand, okay, well, when I am aiming somewhere close to the right spot and starting the ball along that line, am I seeing less steering, less manipulation of the rotation through impact? So now all I've got to do is allow that putter to naturally rotate. Hopefully there's no steering because I'm aiming somewhere close to where I need to be, and I've just got to match the pace. Okay, in the top edge. So you can see, started the ball on the laser, it broke over the ghost hole and into the hole. So hopefully this video has provided you with some understanding of what steering might look like in your HackMotion data. And if you are steering your breaking putts, perhaps you're under aiming and therefore having to manipulate the ball up the slope. So if you can do this drill, aim a little bit better. Now we just have to allow the natural rotation and match the speed, and hopefully you're going to see less steering in your breaking putt specifically, and you're going to see better HackMotion data. So you can see the space here from the laser to the ghost hole, and I said that ghost hole is bang in the middle of the straight line and the start line. So if I want the ball to roll over the ghost hole, I have to start it on this line. It will curve in the first 2/3 over the ghost hole and into the middle of the hole, obviously if the speed matches. So let's first of all do a putt with steering. So I'm not aiming high enough, and therefore I'm having to manipulate the ball up the slope. Let's try another one with steering. Not aiming high enough, therefore I'm having to manipulate the ball up the slope. And let's do one laser on. So if I'm aiming in the right place, close to the right place, I can move the putter without rotational manipulation, and I just have to match the speed. Really good. Do one more.